The new 2023 Formula One cars are less than a month away from hitting the track, and while this year's regulatory changes pale in comparison to those of 2022, there are some significant technical changes being made to the cars that will have an impact on the order. So let's take a deep dive into the FIA's biggest changes for the 2023 season, what impact they could have on the order, and who will stand to benefit the most. Porpoising regulations. The 2023 technical regulations are attempting to address a number of concerns. Combating the phenomenon of porpoising, which plagued some teams last season, is one of the most important. Other priorities included the elimination of some regulatory grey areas. The FIA has imposed a change in the height of the floor, which will be 15mm higher on the side edge than the reference plane, as well as a 10mm higher diffuser groove in an attempt to definitively cancel out porpoising. This will prevent floor stalling, but comes at the expense of a reduction in total downforce, especially in fast corners. As a result, cars in 2023 will most likely be 2 to 4 tenths of a second slower on average depending on the circuit. The Mercedes-powered teams proposed a 25mm increase in the lateral edge of the floor in 2022, but an intermediate value of 15mm was reached, partly because most of the porpoising issues had been resolved by then. The FIA has taken action against porpoising by completing part of the work that was started by the introduction of the technical directive for the Belgian Grand Prix after last year's summer break. The chassis of the 2023 cars will be outfitted with an accelerometer that will monitor the frequency of the oscillations, which must adhere to FIA metric values. Floor changes. The floor will also be a key topic in the technical checks, as the FIA has strengthened and added additional parameters to prevent excessive bending. With a 250 Newton applied load, the lateral edge will be able to flex by a maximum of 5mm compared to a maximum of 8mm in 2022. After the controls were tightened with the technical directive, there will also be changes in the flex control of the skid blocks, which Zhou Guanyu's Silverstone crash last year provided an unusually clear view of. Except for the front area, there will be 4 verification points. As a result, the floors in 2023 will be stiffer than those in 2022. Weight changes. Because power unit development has been halted until 2026 and all the vehicles have reached the minimum weight limit, aerodynamic development will make the biggest difference this season. Nevertheless, the minimum weight value will be reduced by 2 kilograms down to 796. Because of the work done over the last year, there should be no major issues with excess weight for the teams as there were last season, which prompted the FIA to raise the minimum value to 798 kilograms. The total weight of the power units will rise by 1 kilogram to 151. This increase is necessary because the total weight of the drive units will include components that were previously part of the chassis group. Because only 3 power units can be used over the course of the 23 race season, reliability will remain a major issue. Loopholes closed. Wings like those controversially debuted by Mercedes and Aston Martin in 2022 will no longer be seen. The text that comprises the set of rules and technical constraints for F1's new generation of cars has been written in such a way that engineers must work with 3-dimensional models that are then approved by the FIA Technical Office. This should have greatly limited the design imagination of the engineers, since it was necessary to respect curves and volumes to shape the cars with ground effect. However, when it came to the FIA's goal of clean and simple aerodynamics that minimized dirty air, we saw some teams last year use solutions that flexed the spirit of the regulations. The rear wing designed by Aston Martin for tracks that require a lot of downforce is one solution that the FIA has openly declared illegal for 2023. The engineering team, led by Andrew Green, studied shapes to recreate the flow bundling effect that occurred above the rear wing edge of cars prior to 2022. End plates that protruded beyond the main plane were bizarrely shaped to meet the regulation's concavity and convexity constraints. This prevented the flow from dispersing to the sides of the main flap, maximizing the downforce effect. Less extreme than Aston Martin had been Mercedes' unique front wing end plate design that featured a solution that opened the sidewalls to increase the outwash of the airflow. The area between the side skirt and the flap will no longer be able to be curled to create an outlet channel for the flow outwash. Mercedes introduced this solution in Miami last May and kept it for the rest of the season, with Alfa Romeo copying it in part towards the end of last season. It will be more difficult to develop solutions that exploit grey areas of the regulations because the FIA is studying every possible way to avoid teams constantly creating aerodynamics that create penalizing vortices for the car following closely. And as the budget cap baseline figure will be reduced to $135 million, it makes it critical to spend resources on solutions that are functional in development and can be used indefinitely without fear of being outlawed. Safety improvements. The FIA Technical Office continues to work with team engineers to improve safety and reduce risk in F1. Roll hoops will be more resistant starting in 2023. The first lap incident at Silverstone that sent then rookie Zhou Guanyu upside down resulted in the total detachment of the roll hoop, prompting the FIA to tighten up crash tests in that area. A new crash test load with a force applied in the opposite direction of 49 kilonewtons for 10 seconds will be added. This will be in addition to the tests conducted in the other 3 directions. The roll hoop will also be geometrically revised, with the 2023 regulation imposing a 20mm forward angle and a 50mm height from the reference plane. The mirrors, which were already tested by some teams in the 2023 version last season, will also be much bigger to aid visibility. Sprints. Since the introduction of the drag reduction system at the start of the 2011 season, drivers have only been permitted to use it from the beginning of the second lap following a start or safety car restart. It was feared that allowing it to be used immediately after the lights went out would cause chaos and potential accidents because the field is so densely packed. However, with drivers easily breaking out of the 1-second DRS zone over 2 laps, F1 wants to see if the spectacle can be improved by allowing it 1 lap earlier than it is now. During a meeting of the F1 Commission in Abu Dhabi, it was agreed that experiments would take place for this season's sprint races. For the 6 Saturday sprints in 2023, the activation of DRS after the start or a safety car restart will now begin following 1 lap of action rather than 2. All other aspects of the DRS rules will remain unchanged, including the 1-second detection limit. If the experiments prove successful in improving the show without causing any problems, the plan is to fully implement it in F1 starting in 2024. F1 had long hoped that it would be able to do away with DRS, but it looks like the management still believes that the device is necessary to keep the races exciting. It has also been agreed that for sprint races, a new structure will be implemented to deal with paying for accident damage sustained by teams. Instead of claiming back for repairs, teams will now be allowed a set amount per event. This means that instead of the current $150,000 limits, teams will receive a $300,000 allowance for each sprint. All other compensation provisions for minor and material damage will subsequently be removed from the regulations. The F1 Commission is also considering changes to the current park fam rules for sprint weekends in order to simplify things, as setups are currently fixed from Friday's qualifying session. Tyre blankets. Following trials of their 2023 tyres during practice for the United States and Mexican Grand Prix, drivers voiced their concerns about Pirelli's plan to reduce tyre temperatures for 2023 and to ban tyre blankets altogether for 2024. The gradual phase-out of tyre blankets was to continue in 2023 as part of F1 and Pirelli's goal to reduce costs and energy consumption, but following the complaints, Pirelli has announced that they will delay their plans. The step for 2023 should have been to reduce tyre blanket temperatures from 70 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees. Pirelli's motorsport director Mario Isola confirmed to the media that the drivers had expressed concerns about the lower temperatures. "We tested the prototypes in Austin with the blankets at 50 degrees, confirmed Isola. The main complaints from the drivers were about the warm-up phase. The change was something they felt was quite a lot, and they struggle with the first lap or couple of laps with a much lower grip compared to the tyres at 70 degrees. Some of them are still asking for blankets to be back to 100 degrees as it was in the past, so they are very linked to the past. F1 tyres are currently heated to 70 degrees for 3 hours before use, and Pirelli is looking to phase this process out in order to reduce energy consumption as part of their own sustainability goals. Following tests, Pirelli confirmed that their goals of reducing energy consumption in 2023 could be met by reducing tyre heating time rather than lowering temperatures. Isola confirmed that F1 tyres will remain heated to 70 degrees, but with a shorter heat cycle time of 2 hours rather than 3. So what are your thoughts on these rule changes? Will they have a significant impact on the order of F1? What are your predictions for the season? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications so that you never miss an upload. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.